Sebastian and I have been married for 7 years, and have raised a mistress for 7 years. After I got pregnant, he cut off all ties with his mistress and returned to the family. He cooks for me and accompanies me to prenatal checkups. But on the day when his mistress got married to someone else, he was in a daze and publicly disrupted the wedding. They hugged tightly, with smiles of recovering what was lost on their faces. I gave a self-deprecating smile and went to the hospital for an abortion the next day. When Sebastian rushed over in a panic, I had already finished the surgery and handed him the divorce agreement. His eyes suddenly turned red and he sobbed. "Sylvia, you gave up the child. Are you giving up on me too?" I closed my eyes and said softly, "Sebastian, it's been 7 years. I should have given up on you long ago. 1. Are you sure you really don't want this child anymore?" When the doctor confirmed again whether I really wanted an abortion, the phone screen lit up. It was a message from Sebastian. "Wife, my business trip ended early. I can be home tonight. Are you happy? In the past few days when I was away, did you still have severe morning sickness? What would you like to eat tonight? I'll cook. Or do you want to eat out? I know a newly opened steakhouse that is especially delicious." Ignoring me? "Wife, are you sleeping or feeling unwell? Little brat, making your mother so hard. When you come out, Daddy will spank your little bottom." Word by word. All are Sebastian's concern for me, and his expectation for the child in my womb. After I got pregnant, I had morning sickness and a poor appetite. So he cooked meals himself. 3 meals a day, without missing a single one. Every time I went for prenatal checkups, he accompanied me, saying that he wanted to participate in the child's growth. He is clearly a good husband and a future good father. But who would have thought such a him would disrupt a wedding, would tightly hug someone else's bride, and make a vow never to be separated again. At that time, did he think of me? Think of his unborn child? The screen is still constantly lighting up. I turned the phone over and stopped looking, took a deep breath and said to the doctor, "Yes, I don't want this child anymore." The doctor asked me to go to the hospital for an abortion tomorrow. So I went home first. As soon as I opened the door and changed into my slippers, I fell into a warm embrace. "Wife." Sebastian's deep and magnetic voice sounded from above my head. "It's only been 5 days since we last saw each other. Why do I miss you so much? Did you and the baby miss me too?" Before I could speak, he stroked my cheek and kissed me. My body stiffened and I subconsciously struggled. Strange. The embrace I missed so much before. The kisses I could never get enough of. Now, I actually resist them a little. As if sensing my distraction, Sebastian was a little dissatisfied. He tightened his hold on my waist and deepened the kiss. And it was at this moment, the clear and cold pine fragrance on his body, mixed with a little sweet and creamy pear fragrance, rushed towards me. It instantly reminded me of yesterday when he publicly disrupted the wedding and hugged Shirley tightly, kissing affectionately. There was a smile of recovering what was lost on his face. He said, "Shirley, I almost lost you." He also said, "We will never be separated again, and will be together forever." In his arms, Shirley, the mistress that Sebastian has had for 7 years since we got married. They broke up and got back together. She was crying like a pear blossom in rain, constantly pounding on his back. She complained, "Why did you come so late? Almost. Just a little bit and I would have married someone else." They hugged and kissed in the rain, just like the hero and heroine in a romance novel. The onlookers who didn't know the truth took pictures one after another. Handsome men and beautiful women. So romantic. And I, Sebastian's wife, am like an outsider, only able to stand in a dark corner and secretly watch their happiness. Thinking that this embrace of Sebastian hugged someone else yesterday and is hugging me again today. My stomach churned immediately. I bent over and etched. Sebastian quickly supported me and asked with concern, "What's wrong?" "Nothing." I pushed away his hand and forced a smile. "Sebastian, Didn't you say there is a delicious steakhouse? I want to eat steak. Sebastian immediately smiled and gently rubbed my hair. Okay. Whatever you want. 3. The steakhouse Sebastian mentioned is located near the university town. He found a seat by the window and ordered two steaks skillfully. The well-done one is for me, and the medium-rare one is for him. After the steaks were served, he carefully cut them into small pieces and removed the tough fascia. Sylvia, you can't eat raw food when you're pregnant. The waiter serving the food on the side was full of envy. Madame, your husband is so good to you. How considerate. I smiled and didn't say anything, just looking at Sebastian opposite me. I remember that he never eats beef, nor anything raw or half-cooked. Once, I asked my best friend Yuzo, who was studying abroad in Japan, to buy a bluefin tuna for me. I wanted to make sashimi for Sebastian, but he didn't even take a look and just poured it out. He said coldly, Sylvia, I don't eat raw food. After being married for so many years, can't you even remember this? Now, he can put one piece after another into his mouth without blinking. The semi-old decoration of the shop and the dim light are out of place with him in a suit and leather shoes. I have been in love with him for 3 years and married for 7 years. I know exactly what kind of person he is. Arrogant and aloof. He would definitely not enter such a small and shabby restaurant. The only explanation is that little bird he keeps outside. Shirley. Steak is what Shirley likes to eat. This shop is also where he often accompanies Shirley. For her, he has learned to cook and be considerate. All the changes he has made are for another woman. If I weren't pregnant, would he break off with Shirley completely? Would he return to the family? I think it's highly unlikely. A lump formed in my throat, and a dense pain spread in my heart. Just at this moment, Sebastian's phone screen lit up. He immediately swiped open the screen, and a few seconds later, a doting smile appeared. I asked him, "What's so happy?" The moment he looked up at me, the tenderness in his eyes hadn't completely disappeared. He chuckled. "Just a video of a cute little cat. If you like it. After giving birth, we can get one." I said, "Oh." Suddenly I asked him, "The weather is nice tonight. Can you accompany me to see the sea?" Sebastian was stunned and instinctively refused. There are still some things at the company that need me to deal with. Obviously he just came back from a business trip. I lowered my eyes and opened the social media platform. Among the people I follow, a blogger with a little cat avatar posted a new update. Romantic preview. Chase the blue tears with him tonight. For Sebastian still sent me home. He didn't know that as soon as he left, I followed him. Shirley is a more or less popular love blogger. Her avatar is the little cat she raises with Sebastian. Thanks to Shirley's avatar, I discovered Sebastian's infidelity. The reason was that once when he was on a business trip, I made a video call. He, who had never been very fond of pets, suddenly had a fluffy blue gold shaded cat behind him. It was very cute. The only thing was that this blue gold shaded cat had a relatively short tail, as if it had been injured. This made this cat very recognizable. "Sebastian, where did this little cat come from?" "A colleague's," I asked casually. And he answered casually. But it made me discover his infidelity. After that day, I accidentally came across a video of this little cat. The blogger who posted it is called Pear Blossom White. The avatar is this little cat, and should be the owner of the little cat. A colleague of Sebastian? I clicked into her homepage to watch more videos of the little cat. But the more I watched, the more shocked I became. In the posts she made, Sebastian's figure kept appearing. At first, it was just a corner of clothing. A watch. Slowly, his back appeared. And there was a photo of them holding hands on QAXI Festival. Later, there were even photos of them kissing in bed. Looking further down, to the earliest one, the time showed 7 years ago. Sebastian in the photo had just married me and just taken over the Sebastian family group. He was full of vigor. He went to give a speech at the university as a successful person, and Shirley was the one who received him. And the caption read, "Striving to get closer to President Sebastian." And after that, it was the usual story of a female college student bravely chasing after the male god. I finally understood where Sebastian was during all the festivals and anniversaries he missed. I also knew the development of their relationship. 2 months ago, they broke up. Pear Blossom White continuously updated her posts about being loved one for a month. Finally, one day, she was no longer sad and announced the news of her upcoming marriage. The wedding date was yesterday. On her homepage, the top post is an update posted in the early hours of yesterday. It was 2 hands tightly clasped. There were also matching rings on the middle fingers. For the rest of our lives, we will never be separated again. Just now, a new update appeared. The blue tears didn't break their promise. It's like the galaxy has traces to follow. And so are you. Happy Reunion 5. I watched their kissing backs from a distance for a long time. It was a long time until they left hand in hand. Then I walked home with a self-deprecating smile. The house was cold. This is the wedding house of Sebastian and me. But only I live here alone all year round. When I finished packing the things I would need for hospitalization tomorrow, it was nearly dawn. Sebastian still hadn't returned. As early as an hour ago, he sent a message saying he wouldn't come back. Before I was pregnant, he often didn't come back to spend the night. But in the 2 months since he broke up with Shirley, except when he was on a business trip, he accompanied me every night. People are really masochistic. Once you get used to his kindness, you can't stand his previous coldness anymore. Sebastian, why did you give me hope and then disappoint me? I took out the color ultrasound report and gently stroked the little person on it. Tears fell patter. 3 months have passed. She has already grown tiny hands and feet. Child, it's not that mom doesn't want you. If you are born but cannot receive complete love from your father, your childhood will not be happy. I picked up my suitcase and went out. Before leaving, I left him a note. He will see it as soon as he comes home. Going to play with Yuzo for a few days. Don't disturb. The car started. It was getting farther and farther away from the wedding room of Sebastian and me. I couldn't help but wonder. If Sebastian knew that tonight was his last chance to save this child and me, would he regret it? The next time we meet, it should be for divorce. 6 early the next morning, I went to the hospital. When handling the hospitalization procedures, I happened to meet the director who had been helping me regulate my body for many years since I started preparing for pregnancy. She said to me with a smile, "Congratulations. After so many years of preparing for pregnancy, having so many injections and taking so many medicines, you finally got your wish. Your husband should be extremely happy. It's been more than 3 months, right?" She glanced at my belly, and there was sincere joy on her face. I couldn't help but place my hand on my still unbulging lower abdomen and forced a smile. Yes. It's been 3 months. Hearing this, the director's smile deepened. After 3 months, it's stable. At this time, she saw the hospitalization notice in my hand and frowned. Why are you hospitalized? Are you uncomfortable somewhere? Do you need my help? Looking at her concerned face, my nose suddenly felt sour, forcing back the tears that were about to fall. I shook my head. Director. In fact, my hospitalization this time is for an abortion. The director frowned tightly. Why do you want an abortion when everything is fine? Is the child not developing well? No. It's my own reason. The director sighed and looked regretful. Sylvia, this child of yours didn't come easily. You've been coming to me for pregnancy treatment for 7 years. Right? I still remember when I first saw you. You were holding your husband's hand and begging me to help you have a child. You also know that this may be your only chance to get pregnant. Does your husband know that you don't want this child? I shook my head faintly. The director's understanding expression. I knew that she understood. She patted my shoulder, full of pity. Child, if your parents knew how sad and distressed you are, how painful their hearts would be. If ordinary parents knew that their daughter was suffering like this, they would surely cut that man to pieces. However, I don't have parents. Sebastian is my only relative in this world. It was he who gave me warmth when I lost my parents at the age of 18. And when I was 21, he gave me a home. Over the years, he has been busy with his career and has increasingly ignored me. I don't blame him. I always thought that if we had a child, would his heart be able to settle down? Could that cold home have a sense of warmth? Facts have proved that I was right. I will never forget his ecstasy when I told him I was pregnant. He picked me up and spun me around again, and again. He said, "Sylvia, my wife, I have never been so happy. I'm going to be a father." I also can't forget the joy in my heart when I found out that he broke off with the woman outside for the sake of the child and our family. Wrong. Wrong. From the very beginning, I was wrong. Cheating is either zero times or countless times and is never worthy of forgiveness. From the moment Sebastian raised a woman outside behind my back, we had no future. How could I not know how difficult it is to have this child? Endless injections, countless medicines to take, countless examinations to do, and countless hospitals to run to. And there are countless cold stares from Sebastian's parents. But I can't entangle with the wrong person for the rest of my life just for this child. I am me first before I can be anything else. 7. I originally thought that Sebastian would soon find out that I wasn't at home. But I was wrong. I have been hospitalized for 3 days. And he hasn't called. This shows that in the past 3 days, he hasn't returned home and thus hasn't seen the note I left for him. Surely has returned. And he has become that indifferent Sebastian again. Bed 12. He wore today's medicines. I took 3 small white pills from the nurse and swallowed them silently. This medicine called Mesarpsil can easily take the life of my child. The nurse said that after taking the medicine, I should walk around. So I took a walk in the hospital and quietly waited for the medicine to take effect. When I walked to the outpatient department, from a distance, I suddenly saw 2 familiar figures. My husband, whom I haven't seen for 3 days, is accompanying another woman to see a doctor. Shirley's delicate face is full of grievance. Sebastian, I don't know this pain is because you are too powerful. Don't blame me anymore. Okay? Sebastian pinched the space between his eyebrows with his fingers, looking somewhat impatient. Shirley, this time you went too far. You know very well that on my wife's side. Before he could finish speaking, Shirley's tears began to fall in a flurry. She threw herself into Sebastian's arms and said tremulously, "Sebastian, don't leave me. I'm just afraid. Afraid that you will leave me again." Sebastian sighed and put his arm around her waist. His eyebrows and eyes softened, and he said softly, "As long as you don't provoke Sylvia, I won't leave you." Shirley nodded obediently. But her eyes were full of reluctance. She held back her tears, took Sebastian's hand and swung it back and forth, full of expectation. "Sebastian, I want to go to Disneyland. We can't get married. A honeymoon trip should always be arranged. Right? Just for 1 day. It won't delay your next prenatal checkup with her. Okay?" Sebastian stroked the tip of her nose and smiled doubtingly. "Okay. Counting. Tomorrow is the day when Sebastian will accompany me to build a prenatal checkup card." I gave a self-deprecating smile. I thought I didn't care about him anymore. But seeing this scene, my heart still hurts. Even my stomach began to ache faintly. I gradually realized that it might be because the medicine had taken effect. I covered my stomach and sat on a chair. A wave of pain hit me, and I trembled all over and broke out in cold sweat. After enduring it, I looked up again. But I saw Shirley standing in front of me with a smiling face. My boyfriend has gone to drive. Is it okay if I sit here?" She sat down beside me on her own, tilted her head, and said to me with a smile, "Nice to meet you. Let me introduce myself. I'm Shirley and I'm Sebastian's girlfriend." She emphasized the words girlfriend heavily. "Sebastian and I have been together for 7 years. You should know that. Right? You should also know that Sebastian has spent Valentine's Day, QIXI festival, and New Year's Eve with me all these years. On your 7th wedding anniversary with him. He spent the whole day with me. And you? Crying and calling him. Hoping he can accompany you. How pitiful. She giggled delicately, her beautiful eyes twinkling, full of ambition. You are really patient. If I were you, I would have stepped aside long ago. I looked at her sideways, enduring the increasingly painful lower abdomen, and said coldly, "Are you done? If so, please leave." Why should I leave? This is a hospital. Shirley raised her voice and retorted. Hearing this, I suddenly raised my eyebrows and smiled. You told me so much just because you have no chance of marrying Sebastian. As long as we don't get divorced for a day. You are a mistress for a day. Shirley stood up abruptly, raised her chin, and looked down at me. She stomped her foot and said angrily, "You are just relying on the baby in your stomach. If you weren't pregnant, he wouldn't want to see you at all. To tell you the truth, I am already preparing for pregnancy. Once I get pregnant, Sebastian will definitely divorce you. Whether Sebastian will have a child with her and whether he will divorce me is not important anymore." Because my lower abdomen began to ache violently, my vision darkened, and I couldn't hear what Shirley said anymore. Another wave of intense pain came, accompanied by a large warm current gushing out from under me. Finally unable to hold on, my body became limp and I collapsed from the chair. I used my last bit of strength to hold Shirley and begged her to call a doctor for me. But she was already frightened unconscious by the scene in front of her. Muttering, "It's not me. It's not me." She actually ran away without looking back. I fell into a coma. In a daze. There were many people in white and green clothes surrounding me. Many strange and panicked voices sounded in my ears. So much blood. Why is she bleeding so much? Quick! Go and call the director and say that there is a patient with massive bleeding and needs rescue. Soon. I heard the director's voice. She held my hand. She, who was always calm and composed, shouted my name anxiously. Sylvia! Can you hear me? I really wanted to open my eyes, but my eyelids seemed not to belong to me. They were heavy. I also wanted to raise my hand and tell her that I could hear her. But I couldn't raise my hand either. The director's voice rang out again. Send her to the operating room quickly. Good child. Don't sleep. Hold on. I will definitely save you. When the medical staff moved me onto the operating table, the blood was still flowing. Prepare gauze and pack the uterus. No way. Director. The bleeding can't be stopped. How many milliliters of blood has been lost? 2,000 milliliters. Open the abdomen. Prepare to ligate the uterine artery and perform a corset suture. After a long time, maybe only a few minutes, I heard the beeping alarm of the instrument, accompanied by the anesthesiologist's exclamation, 3,500 milliliters of blood has been lost. Not good. The patient is in shock. There was another flurry of activity. More tubes were connected to my hand. There was a panicked voice. Director. It can't be stopped. She has lost so much blood. Why didn't the person accompanying her call us earlier? Director. Remove the uterus. The director scolded. No. She hasn't given birth yet. We can't remove the uterus unless it's absolutely necessary. Transfuse blood. Ask the blood bank for blood. Director. Blood transfusion now requires a blood donation certificate. Where are the family members? Where is Sylvia's husband? Ask him to donate blood. Call the family members quickly. If they are late, the patient will die. Sebastian. He should be on the way to Disneyland with Shirley. Director. I can't get through. Call again. Still can't get through. Call again. Is there anything more important than saving one's own wife's life? In the end, I don't know if Sebastian's call was connected. Strength was gradually drained away. The body was no longer my own body. before completely losing consciousness. I seemed to hear Sebastian's panicked and helpless voice, almost hoarse. He was calling my name, Sylvia. Endless darkness enveloped me, and my eyelids were extremely heavy. I heard the beeping sound of the instrument and Sebastian's voice. He was angry and loudly reprimanded someone. Why did she have a miscarriage? Without our consent. Who gave you the guts to cause my wife to have a miscarriage? Why is she bleeding so much? Obviously she is in the hospital. Why wasn't it discovered in time? Must we wait until there is massive bleeding to save her? You killed our child. Wait and see. I am the president of the Sebastian Group. I will sue your hospital until it goes bankrupt. He asked many whys in a row. Anyone who heard it would say that he is really a good husband, who cares about his wife. But these doctors on the scene all participated in the rescue. An indignant doctor retorted. Mr. Sebastian, please calm down. Without the patient's own signature, we will definitely not give her abortion pills. Sebastian laughed loudly as if he had heard a joke. What are you talking about? How could my wife have an abortion by herself? Do you know how many miscarriage prevention pills she took and how many miscarriage prevention injections she had in order to keep this child? This is a child we have been looking forward to for 7 years. How could she not want it? Immediately after, I heard the doctor show him something. It should be the abortion consent form I signed. Sebastian took a glance and saw that it was really my name at the end. Suddenly, he became furious. He tore that consent form to pieces. He got angry, grabbed the doctor's collar and scolded. Did you forge this? How could my wife who loves me so much abort my child? Let me think. What is the crime of forging a signature? I couldn't listen anymore. I really wanted to wake up and tell him that it had nothing to do with the doctors. It was me who didn't want our child. But no matter what, I couldn't open my eyes. I could only hear his fists punching the doctor again and again, until another familiar voice sounded. Sebastian, stop. If you don't stop, I will call the police. The moment this voice sounded, 2 tears flowed uncontrollably. It was my best girlfriend, Yuzo. Yuzo went forward and pulled the already out of control Sebastian and kicked him hard. Sebastian, you still have the nerve to blame the doctor? Don't you want to know why Sylvia had an abortion? I'll tell you. Because she already knew you were cheating. You scumbag. You deceived her so bitterly. If you don't like her and don't care about her, can't you let her go early? Sebastian staggered. The last bit of luck was extinguished. Yuzo was still not satisfied and kicked him again, saying coldly, Sebastian, if I had been a little later today, Sylvia would have died. I ask you, where were you when Sylvia had massive bleeding and urgently needed family members to donate blood? I was. Sebastian's pupils suddenly contracted, and he suddenly fell silent. The room was so quiet. Only the beeping sound of the electrocardiogram monitor. And my faint, hoarse voice sounded. You were with Shirley. 11 when they saw me wake up. Sebastian and Yuzo both rushed to me. They spoke at the same time. Wife? Are you awake? Sylvia? How are you feeling? I automatically ignored Sebastian and turned my gaze to Yuzo. Why did you come back to China? The night before I was hospitalized. I was extremely depressed. After thinking about it, only Yuzo could listen to me. But I didn't expect that this good girl would come back from Japan because of me. And saved me again. Yuzo's face was still pale after donating blood. Her eyes were filled with tears. She held my hand, and her face was full of distress. Sylvia, I'm really so scared. I almost lost you. My best friend. I also held her hand tightly and said softly, don't cry. I'm fine now. We will still be good friends for life. After comforting Yuzo, I turned my gaze to Sebastian who had been standing behind her all along. Sebastian. I called his name. He quickly pushed Yuzo aside and rushed to my side. Looking at me. His eyes were affectionate and concerned. I'm here. Wife. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I promise that from now on, I will always be by your side. I also promise that I will never contact Shirley again. I will delete her contact information right now. I interrupted him, my throat slightly constricted. Sebastian, don't call me wife. Disgusting. What? Sebastian was stunned. I said you were disgusting. After saying that, I looked at him steadily, witnessing Sebastian's despair and seeing the glimmer of hope in his eyes shatter. Probably to go to Disneyland, the happiest place in the world, with the girl he likes. Today's Sebastian is wearing a light pink suit, which sets off his tall and slender figure. Extremely handsome and unparalleled. From 18 to 28. Time has left no trace on his face. He is still so dazzling. Even now, he is more mature and stable. And what about me? In 10 years, my heart has been tied to him, and my mood changes with him. I am constantly worried about gains and losses and have almost lost myself. I don't want to live such a life anymore. I took out the divorce agreement that I had prepared long ago from my bag and handed it to him. Sebastian, let's get a divorce. 12 Sebastian's body swayed suddenly, and he could barely stand. His eyes suddenly turned red and he sobbed. Sylvia, you gave up on the child. Are you going to give up on me too? I closed my eyes and said softly, Sebastian, it's been 7 years. I should have given up on you long ago. If I had known you were cheating earlier, I definitely wouldn't have decided to divorce until now. Do you think you hid it well? Dreaming of having affairs outside while keeping the family intact. I tell you, your dear Shirley has posted every bit of being with you on the internet. In the past few days. If you had gone home, you would have seen the note I left for you and would have known that I wasn't at home. Perhaps this child could have been saved. Sebastian rumbled all over and kept shaking his head. He held those few thin divorce agreements, his eyes full of remorse, crying hoarsely like a child who has made a mistake. He seemed to repeat only those 2 sentences over and over again. Forgive me. Forgive me. Sylvia. I won't divorce you. I will cut off all ties with her completely. Good Sylvia. Give me a chance and let me make it up to you. I shook my head and firmly refused. No need. I don't deserve it. Do you know? Although I knew you were cheating long ago, when I learned that you returned to the family for the child, how happy I was. I know you love me and care about the child. Otherwise, you wouldn't have broken up with Shirley. But you think that returning to the family and liking Shirley are not in conflict, right? After saying so much, I was really tired. My patience was also exhausted. Look at the property division clause. If there is no problem, sign the divorce agreement. However, Sebastian suddenly went crazy and tore up the divorce agreement viciously. He hugged me tightly, almost insanely. I won't let you leave me. What I owe you, I will repay bit by bit. I will cook for you every day, stay overnight with you, and donate blood. As long as I can see you. I frowned and was about to speak when I was interrupted by Yuzo. Sebastian, can't you understand human language? Sylvia said she doesn't want to see you. I am here for the escort. At worst, there is a nurse. You being here will only affect Sylvia's recovery. Sebastian's eyes were sharp and he was about to refute immediately. But he was stunned by the entertainment gossip coming from the TV behind him. Breaking news. The president of the Sebastian family group has a secret love affair with an internet celebrity. It is said to be a reunion after a breakup. The real-life version of a domineering president falling in love with me. So sweet. It seems that Shirley couldn't wait and was eager to become the official partner. I smiled slightly. It seems you don't have time to accompany me anymore, Mr. Sebastian. Oh, by the way, the last person I saw before I had a massive hemorrhage was Shirley. 13 Sebastian found Shirley in the house by the sea. As soon as he entered the door, she hugged him from behind. Sebastian, you are finally back. Do you know how panicked I was when you left me alone? This time, Sebastian didn't hug her back. Instead, He pushed her away and looked out the window. Outside the window is the endless sea. Sebastian remembers this house. It was purchased at the highest housing price 5 years ago. After buying it, he gave it to Shirley to live in. Later, it became their love nest where they were entangled for many years. Why did he buy this house in the first place? Sebastian couldn't remember. He didn't like the seaside. It was too humid. And the air was salty and didn't smell good. The sound of the waves hitting the rocks was too loud when the tide was high. He had always been a light sleeper, and it would affect his rest. But in his impression, it seemed that someone liked it. She said that she liked to listen to the sound of the sea waves, as if returning to Sylvia's time. In Sylvia's time, her home was by the sea. When her parents returned from fishing, they would hold her and sit on the dam, watching the ebb and flow of the tide and the clouds rolling and spreading. She said that she wanted to build their home by the sea. In the former home by the sea, there were her parents. In the current home by the sea, there is the person she loves the most. She seems to have never lost love. She has always been surrounded by love. There weren't many houses that met her requirements. At that time, the housing price was high. And he had just taken over the Sebastian family group. His funds were also tight. He searched for 2 years before finding such a set. The owners of this house were an old couple. The house was not big, but it was full of flowers. When selling the house, the old couple had just celebrated their golden wedding anniversary and were about to immigrate to be with their son. This house has witnessed their happiness, and they hope to pass on this happiness to the next homeowner. There are many homebuyers. Sebastian obtained the right to purchase with the words, "My wife likes the sea." Oh, he remembered. It is Sylvia who likes the sea. But why didn't he let her live in the house? Instead, why did an outsider take over? Is it because the outsider can give him excitement? He also knows that Shirley's marriage to someone else is fake. But he was so jealous and distraught that he went to disrupt the wedding. Is he afraid of losing Shirley? No, he is afraid of losing the excitement of having an affair. What a fool! A bitter taste rose in the corner of his mouth. Suddenly, like a madman, Sebastian ran to the garden. The garden was in a state of depression. In summer, there was not a single flower in full bloom. Where are the flowers? Where are the flowers here? Sebastian grabbed Shirley's jaw and asked fiercely. Shirley's face changed drastically, and her beautiful eyes were full of horror. She pulled at Sebastian's hand and tried to breathe air. The flowers. The flowers are gone long ago. You said you don't like small insects. So you asked me to pull them out. Sebastian's hand suddenly loosened. The emotion of remorse was like a surging flood in his heart, making it difficult for him to control and get rid of. He fell to his knees in despair, holding the bare soil and murmuring in a low voice, "Gone. Gone. Everything is gone. The flowers are gone." He didn't take good care of the flowers left by the old couple, and he didn't let the person he really likes move in. So, the happiness of the golden wedding anniversary was not passed on to him. Sylvia doesn't want him anymore. He has no home. 14 Sebastian felt that he was a jerk. He had let down Sylvia's sincere heart and wasted her 10 years of youth. He always knew how hard Sylvia had worked to have a child of theirs. In the early days of their marriage, Sylvia went to see the doctor almost every week. Every time she came back from the hospital, she would bring a large bag of medicine. She would also hold him and complete the task regularly. Once or twice, he was still willing to cooperate. But after many times, intimate contact like completing a task became dull. He didn't like it. And at this moment, Shirley appeared. She was bold and passionate, and had the innocence of a student, firmly attracting him. He quickly fell. When he checked into a hotel with Shirley for the first time, he had a moment of panic. But he comforted himself that it was just once. Sylvia wouldn't know. Even if Sylvia knew. So what? She loved him so much that she would definitely forgive him. Only he didn't expect that his affair would last for 7 years. He also didn't expect that Shirley would post everything about him online. Shirley. Right. If he, Sebastian, is a jerk, then Shirley is the devil who lures him into the abyss. Thinking of this, Sebastian suddenly erupted and slapped Shirley several times hard. It's all you. It's you who made me lose my child and my wife. He still couldn't vent his anger by slapping her. Sebastian began to punch and kick Shirley. Why did you put me online? Why did you provoke Sylvia? Why didn't you call a doctor quickly when Sylvia had a massive hemorrhage? Do you know that you almost killed her? With one punch and one kick, Sebastian hit very hard, seemingly blaming everything on Shirley. Soon, Shirley was on the verge of death. Shirley wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and chuckled. Yes. I know that being a mistress is not innocent. But what about you? It takes two to tango. If you had a firm will, how could you have an affair? Sebastian. It's too late for you to regret now. Sebastian kicked Shirley hard again and cursed. Bitch. Shirley rolled her eyes upward and spat out a mouthful of blood. Sebastian still wouldn't let her go. He grabbed her and was about to get in the car. Go and apologize to Sylvia. If she doesn't forgive you, I won't let you go either. But Sebastian didn't manage to take Shirley to the hospital after all. The noise of their quarrel was so loud that it had already alerted the neighbors and the tourists by the sea. Seeing the blood, the people quickly called the police. When Sebastian dragged Shirley out of the yard, the police surrounded him. Someone reported that you beat someone. Come with us. Thanks to Shirley for tipping off the paparazzi. The people actually recognized the two people fighting in front of them as the headline figures of today's entertainment gossip. What kind of overbearing president falls in love with me? It's the overbearing president who beats me to death. This is the fastest collapsing CP ever seen. Why do I remember that this Mr. Sebastian is already married? Is this woman a mistress? Cheating and domestic violence man. Go away. Hearing the people's discussions, Sebastian's eyes were red. Despite the presence of the police, he still wanted to hit Shirley again. But he was firmly controlled by the police. Behave yourself. Sebastian's cheating and beating of his mistress became the headline of that day. 15 With such a commotion, and the trending topic on the hot search, Sebastian's family group lost all face. The next day, the stock market plunged. In just 1 week, the market value evaporated by 50 billion. The injury assessment of his assault on Shirley also came out. Sebastian beat her severely, causing a ruptured spleen. He has violated criminal law. He is about to face sentencing. Sebastian's parents have always regarded this only son as their lifeblood. To bail him out, they are running around everywhere. They even want to find me, the daughter-in-law they look down upon, to help Sebastian seek Shirley's forgiveness. Unfortunately, when they came to Sebastian's and my bridal chamber, I had already moved out, without Shirley's letter of understanding. A month later, Sebastian was sentenced. He was convicted of intentional injury causing serious injury and was sentenced to 7 years in prison. When the news came, I had recovered and decided to start a round-the-world trip with my best friend Yuzo. I will make up for all these years bound by marriage. Before leaving the city, I went to see him in prison. I passed the divorce agreement through the small window. This time, Sebastian did not hesitate. His handcuffed hand held a pen and signed his name on the divorce agreement. The Sebastian family group has gone bankrupt and liquidated. The property is divided equally. I don't want more of yours. You just reflect on your mistakes while in prison. How many 7 years are there in life? I smiled relieved lie and turned to leave. Behind me, Sebastian's voice still came. Sylvia, if I hadn't cheated, would our ending be different? Sorry. That day, when you said you wanted to see the sea, I didn't accompany you. When you had a massive hemorrhage and needed me, I wasn't there either. I have already donated blood in prison. My blood didn't have a chance to save you. But if it can save others, I will feel a little more at ease. Sylvia, I love you. For the last sentence, Sebastian said it with difficulty. full of endless remorse. I didn't look back. Nor will I look back. My future is bright and splendid. And I will never be bound by anyone or anything again. The world outside the detention center is so colorful. The afterglow of the sunset shines on my face. I close my eyes and feel the continuous warmth of the September sun. Everything in the past is gradually dissipating. When I open my eyes again, Yuzo is standing by the roadside with 2 suitcases and is smiling sweetly at me. Sylvia, hurry up for the plane. I nodded vigorously. I took 1 suitcase and got in a taxi with her. I am going to welcome my brand new life.